What's so special about patience and gentleness? In today's world of instant results and rapid action, why would anyone prioritize slowing down or being gentle? Well, let me ask you this: how many times have you rushed into a decision or reacted impulsively, only to regret it later? How often have you found yourself caught in the whirlwind of stress? Try to outpace life, only to feel drained, disconnected, or even lost. In today's fast-paced society, we're often told that success comes from being quick, assertive, and aggressive. We're pressured to act now, to keep moving forward at breakneck speed, and to never show weakness. But what if I told you that true strength lies in something entirely different? That, as Lao Tzu teaches us, the most powerful force in life is not found in forceful action, but in the quiet strength of gentleness and the remarkable speed of patience. Stick around, because in this video, we're going to explore how Lao Tzu's ancient wisdom can have a profound impact on your life. I'm going to share stories from real life and explain how practicing patience and gentleness can not only solve your problems, but help you build lasting trust, deepen relationships, and achieve success in ways you've never imagined. Trust me, this philosophy could change everything for you. But before we get started, if you're enjoying this kind of content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring insights like this. If you'd like to go the extra mile and support the channel, you can also donate with a super thanks. Your contribution helps us continue to bring more valuable content your way. Let's dive in. In today's fast-paced, often tumultuous world, we're constantly reminded of the pressures and expectations placed upon us. From the demands of work to the fast-paced nature of social media, the modern world rewards those who can act quickly and decisively. But what if there's a deeper, more effective approach? What if taking your time, approaching situations with gentleness, and exercising patience could yield more sustainable and meaningful results? This brings us to the ancient wisdom of Lao Tzu, the legendary philosopher and writer who is best known for his work Tao Te Ching. One of his most profound teachings is that nothing is more powerful than gentleness, and nothing is faster than patience. This principle is not only relevant, but urgently needed in today's world. We live in an era where speed is glorified. Whether it's speed in achieving success, delivering work, or simply reacting to the events unfolding around us, we're taught that the quicker we act, the more successful we'll be. But in doing so, we often overlook the power of gentleness and patience. It's easy to mistake haste for progress, action for accomplishment. But Lao Tzu's philosophy challenges this conventional wisdom. Lao Tzu suggests that gentleness, which requires self-control, and patience, which requires trust in the process, are not signs of weakness, but of profound strength. In this sense, Lao Tzu's teachings are a call to slow down, to carefully consider our actions, and to approach life with humility and composure. In the context of modern life, where we're constantly bombarded by the need to be more efficient, more productive, and more assertive, it's easy to fall into the trap of reacting hastily to situations, whether in the workplace, in our personal relationships, or even in our daily decision-making. But think about a time when your impatience led to a mistake. Perhaps you rushed through an important presentation, only to realize later that you missed key details that would have made a significant impact. Or maybe, in a moment of frustration, you snapped at a friend or colleague, saying something you later regretted. We've all been there. Situations where acting too quickly, without taking the time to reflect or listen, led to unintended consequences. Contrast this with a situation where patience and gentleness made all the difference. For instance, consider a manager who takes the time to listen to an employee's concerns, patiently works through problems together, and guides them to a solution without rushing or dictating. The result is not only a more effective resolution, but also a deeper sense of trust and respect built within the team. This example highlights the power of patience in fostering understanding and cooperation. while it may take longer to approach a situation with patience and gentleness. The results are far more enduring and meaningful than those that come from hasty action. In the realm of personal relationships, the benefits of Lao Tzu's wisdom are equally apparent. Think about a time when you felt heard and understood by someone who took the time to truly listen to you, instead of rushing to offer a solution or judgment. Perhaps it was a close friend who, during a tough time, didn't rush to fix the problem, but instead sat with you, patiently offering support and understanding. That person's gentleness and patience created a space for you to process your emotions and find your own way forward. This kind of compassionate listening, which Lao Tzu would likely advocate for, has the power to build deeper and more lasting connections with others. It's important to remember that gentleness and patience do not mean passivity or complacency. Lao Tzu doesn't encourage inaction or avoidance. Instead, he advocates for taking action from a place of calmness, mindfulness, and awareness. Patience is not about waiting idly for things to unfold. It's about recognizing the right time to act, taking thoughtful steps, and trusting that the best outcomes arise from careful consideration and self-control. Gentleness, on the other hand, is about approaching people and situations with an open heart, not forcing your will on others, but allowing them the space to express themselves and grow. In the context of modern work culture, we often face an environment that is driven by constant urgency and the need to do more, faster. We are often told to keep moving, to hustle and grind to succeed. However, this frenetic pace can lead to burnout, mistakes, and strained relationships. On the flip side, when we practice patience, we give ourselves the opportunity to reflect, to learn, and to adjust our actions accordingly. As a result, we avoid unnecessary stress and increase the quality of our work, rather than simply focusing on getting things done as quickly as possible. Gentleness, too, is an essential part of leadership. Think about some of the most effective leaders in history, whether in business, politics, or community work. The best leaders are often those who lead with empathy and understanding, who take the time to listen and respond thoughtfully, and who are patient in guiding their teams toward success. Leaders who rush through decision-making or belittle others in the name of productivity may achieve short-term results, but they often struggle to build long-term success. Patience and gentleness create a more positive, sustainable environment that encourages growth, collaboration, and mutual respect. Furthermore, in our digital age, where instant gratification is the norm, Lao Tzu's teachings about patience are even more relevant. We live in a world where information is available at the touch of a button, where we expect responses to emails and messages in seconds, and where the pressure to always be on can feel overwhelming. Yet, Lao Tzu reminds us that there is power in slowing down, in resisting the urge to constantly react. In doing so, we allow ourselves the space to think more clearly, to make better decisions, and to avoid the pitfalls of emotional reactivity. One of the most challenging aspects of modern life is the constant pressure to perform, to be more, and to do more. In the workplace, this often manifests in unrealistic expectations, tight deadlines, and a culture that values speed over thoroughness. People are constantly being asked to move faster, multitask more efficiently, and deliver results without pause. But this culture of speed can lead to burnout, stress, and decreased productivity. Lao Tzu's philosophy, however, offers a solution. By embracing patience and gentleness, we can work more effectively, build stronger relationships, and create an environment where both personal and professional growth can thrive. It's also important to recognize that patience and gentleness are essential not only for our interactions with others, but also for our relationship with ourselves. In a world where we are constantly comparing ourselves to others and striving for more, we often forget to be patient with our own growth. We rush through learning. We push ourselves to perform at a level that is not sustainable, and we forget that personal development takes time. By embracing patience with ourselves, we allow for a deeper, more meaningful growth process. We recognize that setbacks are a part of the journey and that gentleness toward ourselves during difficult times is essential for resilience and long-term success. Ultimately, Lao Tzu's philosophy calls us to find balance, to act with intention and mindfulness, to exercise patience, and to approach life's challenges with a calm and gentle spirit. It's a philosophy that offers profound wisdom for navigating the complexities of modern life, where speed and haste are often valued over thoughtfulness and reflection. In a world that constantly pushes us to act quickly, Lao Tzu's teachings remind us that the most powerful and effective actions are often those taken with patience, gentleness, and a deep understanding of the natural flow of life. Lao Tzu's teachings offer a unique and profound perspective on the nature of strength, power, and wisdom. One of his most notable ideas revolves around the concepts of gentleness and patience, two qualities often underestimated in the modern world. In a society that values assertiveness, speed, and sometimes even aggression, Lao Tzu reminds us that true power doesn't always manifest through force. Instead, it can come from a calm, gentle, and patient approach to life. This perspective is particularly relevant today as we face a world that often prioritizes fast-paced results and a do-it-now mentality. Gentleness, as Lao Tzu presents it, is not a sign of weakness. In fact, it is a form of strength that comes from within. There's a misconception that to be strong, one must be loud, aggressive, and domineering. Many people believe that strength lies in being able to overpower others or assert one's dominance. However, Lao Tzu's philosophy argues that true strength is displayed through the ability to remain calm and composed, even in the face of adversity. Gentleness, in this sense, is an inner strength that allows individuals to navigate challenges without resorting to anger, hostility, or unnecessary conflict. For example, imagine a manager at work who is faced with a team member making a significant mistake. A traditional response might be to reprimand them harshly, perhaps publicly, to establish authority. This approach may seem effective in the short term, as it establishes control and shows that the manager is in charge. However, this reaction could also lead to resentment, fear, and a breakdown in communication. On the other hand, a manager who approaches the situation with gentleness, choosing to calmly address the mistake in private, offering support, and encouraging improvement creates an environment of trust, respect, and collaboration. This gentle approach fosters a positive work culture and inspires the team to learn and grow, rather than cowering in fear of failure. Gentleness, then, is not the absence of power, but rather the ability to act from a place of control, understanding, and self-assurance. It's a form of leadership that doesn't need to rely on force or intimidation, but instead focuses on guiding others with empathy and understanding. When we think of strength, it's easy to imagine a lion roaring or a person physically overpowering another. But Lao Tzu asks us to consider the strength of a river that carves through rock, not by force, but through the persistence of its gentle flow. This is the kind of strength Lao Tzu advocates, one that is persistent, enduring, and capable of achieving great things without the need for overt aggression. Patience, too, is a cornerstone of Lao Tzu's philosophy. It's the counterpart to gentleness, as it requires a person to wait for the right moment to act. Patience isn't about inactivity or passivity. Rather, it is about the wisdom to understand when to act and when to wait. In many situations, acting too quickly can result in mistakes, missed opportunities, or unnecessary harm. In contrast, patience allows individuals to gather information, observe their environment, and choose the best course of action at the right time. Think about a situation where a person is waiting for a job promotion. They might be eager to move up the ranks and may be tempted to aggressively pursue opportunities or push their superiors for recognition. However, this impatience could lead to frustration, burn bridges, and potentially even the opposite of the desired outcome. In contrast, someone who practices patience may wait for the right opportunity, demonstrate their value over time, and earn the promotion through consistent performance and trust building. Patience, in this case, leads to a more solid and lasting success than rushing into things prematurely. This idea of patience is equally relevant in our personal lives. Take, for instance, the journey of personal growth. We live in a world where instant gratification is the norm, whether it's through social media likes, immediate responses to texts, or online shopping that delivers within hours. In this context, patience can seem like a rarity. Yet, personal growth is anything but instant. It requires time, persistence, and the willingness to endure the ups and downs of the process. Someone who expects immediate transformation may become discouraged and give up too soon, but someone who is patient understands that progress, though slow, is still progress. Patience allows us to build lasting habits, develop deeper self-awareness, and cultivate skills over time. Lao Tzu's philosophy shows that patience and gentleness are not passive qualities. Rather, they're active forms of strength. They require us to resist the temptation to act out of anger or frustration, instead choosing to wait for the right moment to act with purpose. When we are patient, we are in control of our responses, rather than being controlled by our immediate reactions. When we are gentle, we are in control of our behavior, not letting our egos or emotions dictate how we interact with others. Moreover, patience and gentleness are essential for making wise decisions. In many cases, decisions made in haste are regretted later. For example, consider someone making a financial decision based on an impulsive desire to get rich quick. They may invest in something that seems promising in the moment, but ultimately leads to a significant loss. In contrast, a patient person will take the time to research, consult experts, and weigh the pros and cons before making a decision. They recognize that true wisdom comes from taking the time to understand all aspects of a situation, rather than rushing in without a full understanding. Gentleness, likewise, leads to better relationships. Whether in personal or professional settings, people appreciate being treated with respect, empathy, and kindness. A person who is gentle does not demand respect, but earns it through their actions. By practicing gentleness, we create an environment in which others feel valued, heard, and understood. This fosters stronger connections and a greater sense of community. A person who is constantly aggressive or confrontational may alienate others, creating division and discord. But a person who leads with gentleness attracts others and builds lasting, meaningful relationships. In a broader context, patience and gentleness also help in times of crisis or conflict. For example, in moments of societal unrest or political strife, those who can remain calm and composed, rather than reacting with anger or frustration, are often able to bring about change in more productive ways. In history, leaders who have displayed patience and gentleness, such as Mahatma Gandhi or Martin Luther King Jr., have inspired movements that achieved long-lasting peace and justice. These leaders understood that change doesn't happen through force or violence, but through the steady persistence of peaceful, patient resistance. The importance of patience and gentleness is clear. Both qualities are not just about personal development or success, they're about creating a harmonious world. Patience allows us to act when the time is right, and gentleness allows us to do so with grace and understanding. In a world that often values speed, force, and assertiveness, Lao Tzu's teachings offer a refreshing and powerful alternative. That true power lies in the ability to remain calm, collected, and kind, even when the world around us may seem chaotic. It's a reminder that sometimes the best way to move forward is not to rush ahead, but to pause, reflect, and proceed with patience and gentleness. In the fast-paced and often contentious world we live in today, the qualities of patience and gentleness may seem like rare commodities. People tend to value quick action and assertiveness, sometimes forgetting that there is immense strength in restraint, kindness, and understanding. These virtues, however, can make a world of difference in relationships, workplaces, and even broader social contexts. Let's take a deeper look at how these principles apply in real-world scenarios, both personal and professional, and how they shape outcomes for the better. In personal relationships, impatience and a lack of gentleness can often lead to misunderstandings, conflict, and the erosion of trust. Consider the story of a man named John, who was in a long-term friendship with a person named Mark. Over the years, John and Mark had developed a bond, but like any relationship, they had their share of disagreements. However, Mark had a tendency to be hot-headed and quick to argue. Whenever they had a disagreement, Mark would often raise his voice and become aggressive, making it difficult for John to have a calm conversation. Mark's quick temper often led to hurt feelings and a strained relationship between the two. It wasn't uncommon for them to go weeks without talking, simply because Mark couldn't control his reactions during conflicts. John, however, had been practicing patience and gentleness. He learned to respond to Mark's anger not with an equal amount of hostility, but with calmness. Instead of meeting Mark's aggression with his own, John would listen carefully to what Mark had to say, acknowledging his frustrations. In moments when Mark raised his voice, John would maintain his composure, allowing Mark to vent without feeling judged. Over time, this approach began to make a difference. Slowly, Mark began to recognize that John wasn't retaliating, that John was giving him space to express his emotions, but also demonstrating that it was possible to disagree without fighting. John's patience created an environment where Mark felt heard, and this allowed their relationship to evolve. Gradually, Mark's outbursts became less frequent as he began to appreciate John's calm demeanor. The dynamic between the two shifted from one of tension to one of mutual understanding and respect. John's patience and gentleness not only helped him preserve the friendship, but also contributed to Mark's personal growth. In the workplace, patience and gentleness can have a profound impact on leadership and team dynamics. Consider the example of a manager named Susan, who is known for her calm and patient approach to leadership. Susan managed a team of young professionals who were eager to climb the corporate ladder quickly, often putting immense pressure on themselves and their colleagues. Some of them, particularly a new hire named Emily, were impatient and eager to prove themselves. Emily had a tendency to rush through her work, focusing on completing tasks quickly rather than on the quality of her output. One day, Emily made a significant error in a report that affected the entire team's project. When she presented the mistake to Susan, she was understandably flustered and worried about the consequences. Rather than responding with frustration or reprimanding Emily immediately, Susan took a step back and patiently listened to Emily's explanation. She didn't raise her voice or make her feel bad for the mistake. Instead, she calmly walked Emily through the situation, helping her understand what went wrong and offering constructive feedback. Susan emphasized that mistakes are a natural part of learning and that the key was to use them as opportunities for growth. Instead of using the error as an excuse for punishment or anger, Susan used it as a teaching moment. Over time, Susan's patience helped Emily develop a more thoughtful, careful approach to her work. Emily began to take her time on projects, learning to avoid rushing through tasks in an attempt to impress others. Susan's leadership style, grounded in gentleness and patience, not only helped Emily grow as a professional, but also fostered an environment of trust and collaboration within the entire team. Susan's approach contrasted sharply with that of a colleague, Jack, who took a more aggressive, get-it-done-now style of leadership. Jack was known for his quick decisions and his no-nonsense attitude. He often pressured his team to deliver results as fast as possible, without taking the time to consider the long-term consequences of their actions. While Jack did see some short-term gains, his team often felt burnout, stressed, and disconnected. Many of his team members were afraid to make mistakes, as they knew they would be reprimanded swiftly. In contrast, Susan's team thrived because they were given the space to make mistakes, learn from them, and grow. The difference between Susan and Jack is a stark example of how patience and gentleness can create an environment of trust, creativity, and long-term success. While impatience and harshness may yield quick results, but fail to build a sustainable, harmonious work culture. Leadership that values patience and gentleness cultivates an atmosphere where individuals feel valued and respected, ultimately leading to better team cohesion and more effective collaboration. Beyond personal relationships and professional settings, patience and gentleness also play a critical role in resolving social conflicts. Take, for example, the civil rights movement in the United States. Figures like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mahatma Gandhi demonstrated extraordinary patience and gentleness in the face of significant oppression. These leaders understood that in the face of injustice, responding with anger or violence would only escalate the conflict. Instead, they practiced nonviolent resistance, choosing patience and gentleness as their tools for change. Dr. King, for instance, was faced with constant hostility and violence throughout his activism. Yet, he maintained a steadfast commitment to nonviolence. During the 1963 Birmingham campaign, Dr. King and his followers were met with police brutality, fire hoses, and attack dogs. Despite the vicious treatment they received, Dr. King and his supporters did not retaliate with violence. Instead, they remained peaceful, showing the world the ugliness of the opposition through their composure. Their patience in the face of aggression, their refusal to meet hatred with hatred, ultimately won the moral high ground. The gentleness they exhibited in their nonviolent protests helped to shift public opinion and led to significant legal and social changes in the U.S. In a broader social context, the use of patience and gentleness can also help bridge divides in communities and societies. Consider how countries that have experienced periods of conflict, such as South Africa after apartheid, have worked toward reconciliation. Figures like Nelson Mandela and Desmond Tutu demonstrated patience, understanding, and gentleness when dealing with former oppressors, choosing dialogue and reconciliation over revenge and hostility. Their efforts led to a peaceful transition from a deeply divided society to one that sought unity and healing. This process required not just patience in the long-term efforts to repair a broken nation, but also gentleness in the way they handled individuals who had once been part of the oppressive regime. In all of these examples, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or broader social conflicts, the principles of patience and gentleness are shown to be powerful tools for fostering understanding, growth, and positive change. They allow for deeper connections, better decision-making, and a more peaceful society. The ability to remain calm, composed, and kind, even in the face of adversity, is not a weakness, but a form of strength that can transform both individuals and communities. In a world that often rewards speed, assertiveness, and force, it is crucial to remember that gentleness and patience are not just virtues. They're the keys to achieving lasting success and peace. The benefits of gentleness and patience are far-reaching and can positively impact many aspects of our lives, including personal relationships, professional environments, and conflict resolution. These qualities, often overlooked in favor of quick decisions and aggressive actions, actually hold the keys to lasting success and harmony in various situations. By embracing gentleness and patience, we can create healthier relationships, make better decisions, and navigate conflicts more effectively. Let's explore the specific advantages these traits offer in the context of personal relationships, the workplace, and conflict resolution. In personal relationships, gentleness and patience are cornerstones for building trust, reducing stress, and avoiding unnecessary conflict. Consider the nature of any long-lasting relationship, whether it's with a partner, a friend, or a family member. What differentiates relationships that stand the test of time from those that crumble under pressure? One key factor is the ability to understand and empathize with each other's perspectives. Relationships that are grounded in patience and gentleness foster an environment where people feel heard and valued, and as a result, trust is built. Think of the example of a couple going through a rough patch. Perhaps one partner is overwhelmed with stress from work, and this spills over into the relationship, causing tension and misunderstandings. In many relationships, The instinct may be to react with frustration or defensiveness, which only escalates the conflict. However, a more patient approach where each partner takes the time to listen, understand, and support the other can have a far more positive outcome. By practicing gentleness, they can acknowledge each other's feelings and give space for healing, rather than allowing emotions to fester and intensify. For example, imagine a situation where one partner, let's say Sarah, is feeling frustrated due to her work pressures. Instead of lashing out or accusing her partner, John, of not understanding, Sarah decides to take a moment to breathe and approach the situation with patience. John, in turn, responds gently by acknowledging her feelings and offering support without trying to fix the problem immediately. This approach not only diffuses the tension, but also strengthens their emotional connection, making them more resilient as a couple. Over time, this pattern of patience and gentleness can lead to a deeper sense of trust and mutual respect, qualities essential for any lasting relationship. Gentleness and patience are particularly valuable when it comes to managing expectations in relationships. People are inherently different, and we all have our own emotional needs, preferences, and ways of dealing with challenges. By being patient and gentle, we can better understand and appreciate these differences rather than expecting others to always meet our needs without fail. This understanding allows us to build more realistic and compassionate expectations in relationships, creating an environment where both parties feel valued and supported. In the workplace, the benefits of gentleness and patience are equally significant. Many workplaces today prioritize speed and results, and there is often pressure to make quick decisions. However, while fast decisions may be necessary in certain circumstances, being patient and thoughtful in your approach can yield better outcomes in the long run. Patience in the workplace enables employees to think critically, weigh the pros and cons of decisions, and avoid hasty choices that might lead to mistakes or undesirable consequences. For instance, think of a manager named David, who has a team working on a complex project. The team is under tight deadlines, and there is constant pressure to move forward quickly. David, however, recognizes the importance of taking time to ensure that each team member has the opportunity to share their ideas and concerns. Rather than rushing through the decision-making process, he encourages open discussions and makes sure everyone's input is heard. By practicing patience, David ensures that the team makes informed decisions, considers all angles, and ultimately produces a higher quality outcome. Moreover, patience in the workplace can also help build a positive and collaborative environment. When managers and colleagues act with patience, they create a space where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, asking questions, and learning from one another. This openness leads to stronger teamwork, greater innovation, and higher morale. It also reduces the likelihood of conflicts arising, as people are given the time and space to express themselves and understand each other's perspectives. Gentleness, on the other hand, plays a critical role in leadership. Leaders who exhibit gentleness are more likely to inspire loyalty and respect from their teams. Unlike leaders who rely on fear or authority to enforce rules, gentle leaders earn trust by being approachable, empathetic, and supportive. For example, a leader who listens attentively to team members' concerns, offers constructive feedback, and nurtures their professional growth is more likely to create an environment where people feel valued and motivated to perform at their best. Gentleness in leadership fosters collaboration, reduces turnover, and encourages long-term success. In contrast, a workplace that lacks gentleness and patience can quickly become a toxic environment. Leaders who are quick to reprimand, criticize without offering constructive feedback, or pressure their teams to act without proper consideration often lead to burnout and dissatisfaction. Employees may feel unappreciated, undervalued, and disengaged, which negatively impacts their performance and the overall success of the organization. The key takeaway is that workplaces that prioritize gentleness and patience tend to have better communication, higher employee engagement, and more effective outcomes. Finally, Gentleness and patience are indispensable when it comes to conflict resolution. In any setting, whether personal or professional, conflict is inevitable. Disagreements arise, misunderstandings occur, and tensions build. How we choose to handle these situations can make all the difference in the outcome. A quick, defensive reaction can escalate the conflict, while patience and gentleness can pave the way for a peaceful and productive resolution. For example, imagine a situation where two colleagues, Jane and Mark, are in conflict over a project. Jane feels that Mark isn't pulling his weight, while Mark feels that Jane is being overly critical and controlling. If either of them responds with defensiveness or anger, the situation will likely spiral out of control, leading to resentment and continued tension. However, if both Jane and Mark choose to take a step back, remain patient, and approach the conversation with gentleness, they can resolve their differences in a more thoughtful and constructive manner. By patiently listening to each other's concerns and gently offering their perspectives, they can come to a mutually agreeable solution without escalating the conflict. Moreover, in situations of larger societal conflict, gentleness and patience can create opportunities for dialogue and understanding. Think about how peaceful protest movements, such as those led by Martin Luther King Jr. during the Civil Rights Movement, succeeded in bringing about meaningful change. Despite the oppression and violence they faced, the leaders of these movements remained patient and gentle in their approach, choosing nonviolent methods of protest that highlighted the injustice of the situation without exacerbating the violence. This patient, gentle approach garnered sympathy and support, ultimately leading to societal change. In any conflict, whether personal, professional, or societal, the ability to create space for dialogue and understanding is vital. Patience allows for the time needed to listen to all parties involved, and gentleness creates an atmosphere where people feel safe enough to express their true feelings and concerns. By adopting this approach, we can avoid making hasty decisions that may only worsen the situation and instead work toward lasting, constructive solutions. In conclusion, gentleness and patience are not just virtues, they are essential qualities that can lead to healthier relationships, better decision-making, and more peaceful resolutions to conflict. In personal relationships, they help build trust and understanding. In the workplace, they foster collaboration and growth. And in conflicts, they create space for dialogue and resolution. In a world that often values speed, aggression, and quick fixes, the benefits of gentleness and patience offer a powerful alternative, one that leads to long-term success, harmony, and fulfillment. Lao Tzu's philosophy, particularly his insights into patience and gentleness, offers profound lessons that resonate across all aspects of life. These qualities are not just tools for resolving conflicts or smoothing over disagreements. They are essential for fostering lasting relationships, creating trust, and building a sense of harmony in both personal and professional settings. When we delve deeper into the teachings of Lao Tzu, we realize that the power of patience and gentleness is not just in their immediate impact, but in their enduring effects over time. Patience and gentleness are often viewed as passive qualities, associated with passivity or weakness, especially in a world that celebrates assertiveness and speed. But Lao Tzu's teachings flip this perception on its head. Patience and gentleness, in his view, are not only active virtues, but sources of immense strength. The key takeaway from Lao Tzu's philosophy is that these virtues help to create a space where true understanding can flourish, where relationships can be nurtured, and where long-term success can be achieved. The lessons embedded in his philosophy provide us with a way to approach life that is both deeply meaningful and profoundly transformative. One of the most significant lessons from Lao Tzu's perspective is that patience and gentleness help to resolve problems in a way that is more lasting and effective than quick fixes or aggressive solutions. Think about how quickly we are often tempted to act when faced with a challenge, whether it's in a heated argument with a partner, a disagreement with a coworker, or a critical decision at work. In these moments, The tendency is to react quickly, sometimes aggressively, with the hope that our forceful action will resolve the issue. However, Lao Tzu's wisdom teaches us that when we are patient, when we take the time to reflect and understand the situation before acting, the resolution is more likely to be thoughtful, sustainable, and beneficial to all parties involved. For example, consider a situation at work where a team is under pressure to deliver a project within a tight deadline. The leader, feeling the pressure, might hastily push the team to work harder and faster. This quick fix may lead to temporary results, but can also result in burnout, frustration, and mistakes due to the rushed nature of the work. A more patient approach, on the other hand, might involve taking the time to plan the project more effectively, communicate clearly with the team, and ensure everyone has the resources they need. By allowing time for proper preparation, the leader not only ensures better quality work, but also builds trust and respect within the team. The patience shown in this scenario builds a foundation for future collaboration and success, which is far more valuable than a quick, stressful push toward the finish line. This lesson is echoed in personal relationships as well. Patience and gentleness allow us to navigate the complexities of human interaction with more grace and understanding. For example, in a romantic relationship, it's easy to fall into patterns of impatience, especially during arguments. It's common for individuals to want to win an argument quickly, to make their point forcefully, and to resolve the issue immediately. However, when both partners choose to be patient with each other, to listen actively, and to respond with gentleness, the relationship deepens. The ability to stay calm and patient when emotions are high creates a space where both parties can express themselves fully and honestly, leading to a more meaningful resolution and a stronger connection. Let's look at a specific example. Emily and Jake, a couple who have been dating for a few years, find themselves arguing over a decision regarding their future. Emily, feeling frustrated, wants to rush into a decision and resolve the issue immediately. Jake, however, has learned the value of patience from past experiences and chooses not to react impulsively. Instead, he suggests taking a step back, giving each other space to think things through. Over time, as they both take the time to reflect on the situation, they are able to come to a mutual understanding and make a decision that works for both of them. This patient approach, rather than a rushed one, ultimately strengthens their relationship as it demonstrates their commitment to understanding and respecting each other's needs. Moreover, gentleness and patience in relationships don't just resolve conflicts, they prevent them. By cultivating a sense of calmness and understanding, we are more likely to recognize small issues before they grow into bigger problems. For instance, if a partner feels frustrated or misunderstood, a gentle and patient approach can often allow them to express their feelings in a way that fosters empathy and connection, rather than creating further tension. In this way, the practice of gentleness and patience can be preventative, ensuring that relationships remain strong even in the face of challenges. In the workplace, patience and gentleness also contribute to long-term success. The impact of these qualities on professional relationships, team dynamics, and leadership cannot be overstated. A manager who leads with patience and gentleness is more likely to inspire loyalty and respect from their team. They understand that success is not achieved through forceful commands or quick, harsh decisions, but through collaboration, understanding, and time. A gentle approach in leadership helps to create an environment where team members feel safe to share their ideas, make mistakes, and grow professionally. This type of leadership fosters a sense of trust and respect, which ultimately leads to better performance and a more cohesive team. Consider a manager, Sarah, who oversees a diverse team in a fast-paced office environment. In her early days of leadership, Sarah was eager to impress her superiors and often pushed her team to work harder, faster, and longer hours. While this approach led to some quick results, it also resulted in high turnover rates, burnout, and a lack of enthusiasm among her team members. Realizing the negative impact of her leadership style, Sarah decided to adopt a more patient and gentle approach. Instead of pushing her team to meet deadlines at all costs, she began to encourage open communication, offered support when needed, and took the time to listen to her employees' concerns. Over time, Sarah's patience and gentleness fostered a more supportive work environment. Her team became more engaged, more collaborative, and more productive, ultimately leading to better results for the company. The benefits of patience and gentleness in leadership are also reflected in the long-term success of organizations. Companies with leaders who prioritize these qualities tend to retain talented employees and build more resilient teams. By creating a culture of understanding and empathy, these leaders are able to inspire their teams to perform at their best, even in challenging times. This type of leadership is more sustainable because it focuses on building relationships and trust, rather than relying on short-term tactics that may cause harm in the long run. In the realm of conflict resolution, patience and gentleness play a crucial role in finding peaceful and lasting solutions. When conflicts arise, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or larger societal contexts, the natural reaction is often to react quickly and aggressively. However, this approach rarely leads to positive outcomes. Instead, patience allows for a thoughtful, measured response, while gentleness helps to keep the conversation respectful and productive. By creating space for dialogue, individuals can better understand each other's perspectives and work toward a solution that benefits everyone involved. For example, imagine a community facing tension between two groups with differing views on a local issue. The leaders of these groups, rather than engaging in hostile arguments or pushing their own agendas, choose to approach the situation with patience and gentleness. They invite members of both groups to sit down and listen to each other's concerns, ensuring that everyone feels heard and understood. Through this patient, respectful dialogue, the groups are able to find common ground and work together to address the issue, rather than escalating the conflict further. Similarly, in international relations, patience and gentleness are often the keys to resolving long-standing conflicts. Take the example of peace negotiations in the Middle East, where patience and understanding have been crucial to reaching agreements and establishing trust between parties that have been in conflict for decades. While it may take years, even decades, to bring about a resolution, those who practice patience and gentleness in such negotiations are able to build relationships and understanding, which are essential for long-term peace. In conclusion, the lessons of Lao Tzu's philosophy are not just about individual self-improvement. They're about creating lasting change in relationships, work environments, and society as a whole. By embracing gentleness and patience, we can foster trust, understanding, and cooperation in all areas of life. These qualities, though sometimes seen as passive, are in fact some of the most powerful tools for achieving long-term success and happiness. If we apply Lao Tzu's teachings to our own lives, we will find that the benefits extend far beyond the immediate resolution of conflicts. They lead to deeper, more meaningful connections, more sustainable professional success, and a more harmonious world. Lao Tzu's philosophy, rooted in the concepts of gentleness and patience, offers profound insights into the nature of strength and decision-making. His teachings emphasize that true power is not found in aggression, force, or speed, but rather in the quiet strength of gentleness and the mindful waiting brought by patience. These qualities may seem contradictory to the fast-paced, result-oriented nature of modern society, but they are precisely what allow for lasting success and peace in both personal and professional settings. The wisdom found in Lao Tzu's teachings is timeless and universally applicable, yet it remains remarkably underappreciated in a world that often values aggression over calmness and speed over careful consideration. The heart of Lao Tzu's philosophy is a simple but transformative concept. Nothing is stronger than gentleness, and nothing is quicker than patience. In a society that often demands quick solutions and quick action, Lao Tzu's approach stands in stark contrast. Gentleness does not mean weakness. It is a force that operates subtly but effectively, shaping situations in ways that brute force never could. Patience, in its essence, is the ability to wait without frustration, to trust the process, and to act only when the time is right. Together, these two qualities create a foundation for thoughtful decision-making, healthy relationships, and long-term success. Let's revisit the strength of gentleness. Gentleness is often misunderstood in today's world. Many people associate it with being passive or lacking in strength. But if we take a step back, we see that gentleness requires a great deal of internal strength. It takes strength to be kind in the face of cruelty, to remain calm in a stressful situation, or to act thoughtfully when the pressure to act quickly is high. The story of the river, which carves through rock over time, is a perfect metaphor for gentleness. It doesn't force its way through, but rather flows patiently and consistently, ultimately reshaping its surroundings. The gentle flow of the river represents the steady, persistent power of patience and gentleness, qualities that gradually and consistently create positive change. In everyday life, gentleness manifests in the way we communicate with others. Consider a disagreement between two people. One person responds with a harsh tone and sharp words, while the other person chooses to speak calmly and listen. The harsh response often escalates the conflict, while the gentle response opens up space for understanding and resolution. Gentleness allows for connection and empathy, while aggression creates division. In this way, gentleness is indeed powerful, as it fosters deeper relationships and helps defuse potential conflicts before they grow. Patience, too, has its own form of strength. Patience is not about waiting aimlessly or passively hoping things will improve. It's about waiting with purpose and awareness, recognizing that some things take time and that rushing can often lead to more harm than good. In our daily lives, we encounter situations that require patience, whether it's waiting for a job opportunity, for personal growth, or for the resolution of a conflict. If we rush through these processes, we risk missing important lessons and opportunities. Patience is the ability to endure difficult times without losing hope or giving up, trusting that things will unfold as they should in due time. Think about a time when you were faced with a challenge, whether it was in your career or personal life. The tendency might have been to rush toward a solution, hoping that the faster you acted, the sooner you would find relief. However, in many cases, taking a step back and practicing patience led to better outcomes. Patience allowed you to gain perspective, gather more information, and act when you were truly ready, rather than hastily making decisions you later regretted. This is the essence of Lao Tzu's philosophy, recognizing that the right moment will come, and when it does, the patient, thoughtful action will be far more effective than a rushed, impulsive one. As we reflect on the benefits of gentleness and patience, it's important to consider how these qualities play a role in building and maintaining relationships. Relationships, whether with friends, family, or colleagues, are built on trust, mutual respect, and understanding. Gentleness and patience are the building blocks of these qualities. When we act with gentleness, we show respect for others' feelings and experiences. When we are patient, we give people the time and space they need to express themselves and work through challenges. These actions don't just resolve conflicts, they deepen bonds. For example, in the workplace, a manager who demonstrates patience and gentleness with their team is more likely to earn respect and loyalty. A manager who is quick to criticize or micromanage may achieve short-term results, but they will create an environment of fear and stress. Conversely, a manager who listens to their team, addresses concerns with understanding, and offers guidance with patience fosters an atmosphere of collaboration and trust. This approach not only creates a more positive work environment, but also drives long-term success by motivating employees to contribute their best work. In personal relationships, patience and gentleness allow us to navigate differences and misunderstandings with empathy. They help us to step outside of our own perspectives and see things from another person's point of view. This creates space for mutual respect and understanding. For instance, in romantic relationships, practicing patience and gentleness means giving your partner the time and space they need to express their thoughts and emotions without feeling rushed or judged. It means listening actively, offering support, and working together toward a solution rather than trying to win an argument. This type of approach fosters deeper emotional intimacy and a stronger, more resilient relationship. Lao Tzu's teachings also emphasize the importance of patience and gentleness in conflict resolution. Conflicts are inevitable, whether in personal relationships, the workplace, or society at large. However, how we approach conflict determines the outcome. The tendency in conflict is often to react quickly, to defend ourselves, or to try to overpower the other party. But quick reactions often lead to more misunderstandings, more hurt feelings, and more conflict. Patience and gentleness, on the other hand, create an opportunity for dialogue, for listening, and for finding common ground. In this way, patience and gentleness not only resolve conflicts, but also prevent them from escalating. In today's world, where instant gratification is a norm and people are often encouraged to act quickly and assertively, the message of Lao Tzu's teachings can seem counterintuitive. We live in a culture that praises speed, efficiency, and quick results, and as a result, many of us struggle to slow down, to pause, and to consider the long-term impact of our actions. However, by embracing patience and gentleness, we can create more thoughtful, meaningful lives. We can build stronger relationships, make better decisions, and contribute to a more peaceful, compassionate world. I encourage you to reflect on how you might apply the philosophy of Lao Tzu to your own life. Take time to notice situations where you might be rushing or reacting too quickly, and instead try approaching them with patience and gentleness. Whether it's a conversation with a colleague, a challenge in your personal life, or a decision at work, try taking a step back, breathing, and considering the best course of action with a calm and open heart. Observe how this approach impacts your relationships, your decision-making, and your overall sense of peace. Share your experiences and insights with others, and engage in discussions about how these qualities have helped you navigate your own challenges. Patience and gentleness are not passive traits. They are active, powerful tools that can help us create the lives we want to live. As you begin to implement these practices, remember that the results might not be immediate, but over time, you will see the lasting benefits in your relationships, your work, and your own personal growth. The true power of Lao Tzu's teachings lies not in what we do quickly, but in how we approach life with patience, gentleness, and an open heart. So, now that we've explored Lao Tzu's profound philosophy of gentleness and patience, I hope you're beginning to see the immense power these qualities hold. In a world that glorifies quick fixes, impulsive decisions, and a constant rush toward the next goal, Lao Tzu's teachings offer us a much-needed reminder that true strength isn't about how fast we act or how forcefully we push. It's about knowing when to pause, when to listen, and when to act with kindness, patience, and understanding. As we've discussed today, patience allows us to make better decisions by giving us the space to think, reflect, and act thoughtfully. Gentleness, on the other hand, doesn't signify weakness. It is the strength to remain composed and empathetic, even when the world around us might seem chaotic. These virtues not only help us resolve conflicts more peacefully, but also build stronger, more resilient relationships, both at home and at work. Now, here's the challenge for you. How can you apply Lao Tzu's principles of patience and gentleness in your own life? Think about your personal relationships, your professional life, and your inner world. Where can you practice being more patient and gentle? How might this shift change the way you interact with others and the way you feel about yourself? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Leave a comment below sharing how you plan to incorporate these timeless lessons into your daily life. Maybe you've already experienced the power of patience and gentleness. If so, let me know in the comments. Let's start a discussion and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content that helps you grow and live a more mindful, peaceful life, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, if you're feeling generous and would like to show extra support, you can send a super thanks or donation. It means the world to us and helps keep this channel thriving. Thank you for watching. And I can't wait to hear how you plan to embrace the power of gentleness and patience in your life. Until next time, stay calm, stay kind, and remember, true strength lies in patience, and true power lies in gentleness.